Hi, my name is Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you my TBR for June, which is Pride Month. So I have gone through my shelves, picked off lots of queer books that I am really excited to read, and I thought I would show you today. So we'll start off with some non-fiction. This is Outrageous by Paul Baker. This is the story of Section 28 in Britain's battle for LGBT education. I have heard so many great things about this book, in particular from Jen the librarian, whose channel I will link down below. So this is all about Section 28, which came into force in the late 80s, and it wasn't repealed until I think the early 2000s, and it forbid local authorities from teaching in quotes, the acceptability of homosexuality as a pretended family relationship. So this had a massive impact on a lot of people's lives, and what's interesting to me is this coincided with my time at school. I was completely oblivious to it at the time, and it's interesting to think about what it must have been like before Section 28 came into force, because I think often we assume, obviously wrongly, that positive progress just continues to happen, but as we see so many times all over the world at the moment, that progress can take massive steps back. So it's interesting to me to learn more about what it was like before Section 28 came into force, and then the difference that it made in schools around the UK. Really looking forward to reading this, really looking forward to it. Next, I've got two books that I am planning on rereading in June. The first is The Paying Guests by Sarah Waters, as part of my reread project of all of Sarah Waters' books. After this one, I'll only have one more left to reread. I'm going to be buddy reading this with Tiffany from Towering TBR, who I will link in the description below. We buddy read Tipping the Velvet a few months ago, and that was a great buddy read, so we are going to revisit that with The Paying Guests. The Paying Guests is one of the Sarah Waters books that I remember the least about. It's set in London in the 1920s, following a mother and daughter who take in a young couple as lodgers, and I don't really remember anything about the plot, so I'll be interested to see if when I start reading it I start to remember what's going on. But yeah, I love Sarah Waters, we know this. The other book I am looking forward to rereading is Carol by Patricia Highsmith. This was first published under the title The Price of Salt. I first read this several years ago now and really loved it, and I've heard a few different booktubers actually over the last sort of 6 months or so talk about this book. I think one of them was Jen the librarian, and it's just made me think that I really want to revisit it. So the story of the book is there's a young woman who works in a department store, and one day she meets this customer who is an older woman who's married to a man, and it's about their relationship. Again, I don't remember an awful lot about the plot points of this book, but I remember that I really loved it. Excited for that. Next, we have two books that were on my TBR for June last year that I didn't manage to get to, so I will get to them this June. First is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I'm sure you've heard of this book. It's had lots and lots of positive reviews. It's about a man called Little Dog who is writing to his mother. His mother can't read, but he's writing to her about himself, I think, and about sort of things about himself that his mother has not been aware of. I think it's meant to be quite lyrically written, so I will get to that this time around. And the other one that was on my TBR last year that I didn't get to is Rubyfruit Jungle by Rita Brown. So this is sort of a modern lesbian classic. It was first published in the 70s. I think it's a bit of a coming of age story about a young girl who is expelled from university, ends up moving to New York. I think she is quite rebellious from what the blurb is saying, so I am looking forward to this. Next, we have The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This is a book I've been wanting to read for a while now, but my local library didn't have a copy, but luckily my work library, where I've just started, does have a copy. So The Black Flamingo is a novel told in verse. I don't think I've ever read a novel told in verse before. I'm not really a huge fan of poetry, but I'm hoping that this might work for me. I think this is another sort of coming of age story about a young boy called Michael who is mixed race and black, and I believe when he goes to university he joins the drag society, and it's about him sort of discovering that side of himself. And then finally, I thought I would throw some short stories into the mix. So this is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. I read this author's memoir in the Dream House a couple of years ago and loved it. So I'm really, really looking forward to these. I like short stories. I really like short stories. These, I think, are quite strange, horror, fantasy, magic realism, science fiction, queer. It sounds like my kind of thing. Really, really looking forward to getting to that one. So those are the books that I'm planning on reading in June. I'll probably get to another few books as well. I say as well. I mean, I've got a few library books out at the moment which I need to read. Basically, one's for my book club as well. So I do need to read them as well. If I don't get to all of these in June, it might spill over into July. That's fine. I'm excited for these. I think there's quite a nice mix of different books here. Really, really looking forward to getting to them. June, I think, is my favourite reading month. Even though I don't like the weather because it's too blooming hot. I mean, I live in the UK, it's about 20 degrees today, it's too hot for me. Anyway, that aside, I like June because it's Pride Month. Do let me know what you'll be reading in June. Are you going to be reading any queer books? And let me know what they will be. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.